They always eat baguettes with every meal, pretty much. And that's pretty much the best bread you can eat. So they have a lot of different types and stuff. But in my mission, a lot of the French people, they love lasagna. So they'll have that a lot of the time. They have a meal called tartiflette. It's like a casserole dish where you put potatoes, cheese, milk, bacon. You kind of cook it. And the milk, it doesn't like evaporate out, but it kind of thickens or whatever in it. And so you eat that. And that was a big dish where I was at. They would have endive salads all the time. Mustard dressings are popular. So that's not something you see in the US, but they'll mix mustard with vinaigrette and things like that. One of my wards had a member who was German, or he had German roots. And so he would make us, sausages and sauerkraut, and we had, crepes, of course. People say crepe, but it's a crepe. So that's just a little pronunciation thing going on there. And they'll have savory and sweet crepes. Usually they'll put Nutella on them. If it's just quick, you can do powdered sugar with butter. You can do lemon juice and powdered sugar, sugar and butter. The savory crepes are my favorite. You can do it. They'll usually put an egg, actually, with theirs. That's not something we think of. We'd think of that as an omelet, but they'll just crack it on the crepe as it's cooking. And so it's not like you cook it separate or whatever. So it'll be kind of runny, almost like a raw egg. You can do with ham, and there's a cheese called Emmental. It's kind of like Swiss cheese, but they use Emmental with their crepes a lot. You can do with eggplant, spinach, feta, tomatoes. And so all these things mixed in with this is really nice. They have, often with their savory crepes, they'll have there's a flour, sarrasin flour. It's like a brown flour that's kind of hard to find here in the US. And that gives it a different texture and a different flavor that's really, really good. Let's see. As a missionary, because we didn't have as much money, we had a decent amount per transfer, but I wasn't a big spender. We would just buy baguettes every day coming home from wherever we were at, because they have bakeries every corner. We'd buy some cheese, we'd buy fresh fruits and vegetables, pasta, rice, frozen meats, and frozen vegetables. And so that way we could have for dinner pasta and veggies. Breakfast we would have, there's a thing called pain au chocolat, which is like, it's like a croissant with a bittersweet chocolate cream, chocolate paste, more like, in the inside. And it's one of the best things. We'd have like one of those every day. And you'd have hot chocolate, of course. You dip your baguette in that and you could eat it. But for lunch, my favorite was just having baguette with cheese. They have hundreds and hundreds of cheeses. They say that France, the problem with France is that they have one religion and 300 cheeses, and America has 300 religions and one cheese. And so that is reflective of the culture, They really do have so many different cheeses, and every region has their specialty, and a lot of them do taste kind of similar, but the method of preparation is different. Some people like leaving their cheeses to get old, so they're smelly, and I love it. I love all of them. They're all so different and delicious, and they don't always taste like they smell, so that's something to remember, because a lot of people, they smell French cheese and they think, oh, it's yucky. It's not all as smelly as you think, and it can be, but it usually tastes pretty good. So I've had boar soup. I had horse, frog legs, escargot. They'll have these things, but not too often. It's not like I didn't have the impression that it was as much of a delicacy as you think of. They would have caviar as a delicacy. That is something that it really is kind of hard to come by. Unless you buy the low quality caviar. Usually you'll put that on some bread with butter, and you'll eat that. So in case you ever get caviar. And it was, it's kind of salty. It just tastes like seafood. It wasn't that great. But again, I didn't ever have the fancy, expensive caviar. The other thing that's famous in France is pâté, so foie gras. That is a huge specialty of France, and a lot of the time it's illegal here in the U.S. I don't think you can bring it back to the U.S. I know that a few places here, they make a pâté, but it's not usually the same type. So what they do is they force feed ducks or geese, and then when they die, they'll take the liver that has been, engorged and fattened up, and they kind of grind it up with other meats or other things, fat, and they prepare it with some other spices or flavorings, and they put it in a jar, kind of like a preservative, or like a is that what it? Preservatives? Kind of like canned foods. So you can keep it and it'll stay good forever, but they'll open it up, and it's especially famous during Christmas time. And that was one of my favorite things. You'd eat that and you just put it on bread, and it was really yummy. A lot of people don't like the idea of eating duck liver or whatever, but it was really good, and they have really expensive and really cheap versions of it. You can also get foreign foods. When I was on my mission, we would look for Reese's Cups, and you could find that. You could find Dr. Pepper in stores. You could find Vegemite, which is, British or Australian, typically. A lot of Asian foods you could find there as well in the supermarkets. And so they have a lot of different things. The problem for me was coming back from my mission. I didn't know what to eat or how to grocery shop, because I was so used to just buying fresh vegetables and fruits, buying bread and cheese, and just eating, not having to cook very often. We would cook sometimes, but not too often. I just didn't know what to do when I came home, so that was kind of interesting. I think the last thing that's really big in France are actually French fries and beef patties. Normal people will eat them all the time, so you buy them in packs of 4 patties, and they'll just cook them and eat them. They won't put them on buns necessarily or anything like that. They'll just season their beef patty. And French fries everywhere. A lot of French people, they'll buy a 5-pound bag of frozen potato chip, like potato fry things, and then they'll throw them in a deep fryer and make fries and eat them. So I guess it's ironic that they're called French fries, because they don't call them French fries, but we do, and they eat them a lot. So